Astrology has its origins in Babylonia. The astrologers of Babylonia actually believed that the movements of the stars and planets had an effect on people's lives here on Earth. When names were given to individual stars and constellations, people began to worship them. Because of this, the door was opened to the astrologers so they could start making predictions as to how people would be affected by the movements of the stars. The Babylonians also started drawing up horoscopes for each monthly calendar until they had compiled 12 of these calendars, and the people of Babylonia used these calendars year-round. Those people actually let themselves be guided by these horoscopes that were drawn by the Babylonian astrologers. The Babylonians also devised the zodiac, which they did by dividing the celestial sphere into 12 equal parts and calling the parts a sign or a house. If you don't know what a celestial sphere is, you can Google it and see the differences between the celestial spheres used by the astronomers and the zodiac used by the astrologers. The Babylonian astrologers named each part of the division they made on the celestial sphere into the names of the sun, moon, and the principal planets. By the late 4th century BC, Mesopotamian astrology spread to Greece, and about 4 centuries later, Egypt adopted the practice. Then the Greek culture was absorbed by the Romans, and astrology took the form of religion to the Romans. And the ones practicing this astrology in the form of religion began to design individual horoscopes. So really, it was all about superstition. Somebody studied or analyzed the astros, and because they believed the position or movement of certain star or constellation would have an impact on a person's life, the astrologers would actually make a prediction based on that, on what they read off of the stars. Like I already said, astrology was and is a superstition, and the predictions are based on the superstition and your beliefs in this stuff. I see no real power in this, so I won't regard it or take it serious. Moloch. In ancient times, the planet Saturn was known as a deity called Moloch. The name Moloch can mean king. Other names for this deity were Chiyun in Greece, Kaivan as known by the Arabs and Syrians, Kaimanu to the Assyrians, Sikuth, and Rephan, which in Egypt was the name for the planet Saturn. To the Babylonians, the planet Saturn was known as the star of the sun. So the Babylonians referred to Saturn as the sun, which makes sense to why Moloch was also known as the sun god, since Saturn was a reference to the sun also. The worship of the golden calves was known as a worship to Moloch. The solar bull, the constellation of Taurus, are references to Moloch. It is said that ancient people that worship Moloch built statues of that deity. The statues would be of brass with a human body and a head of an ox. The inside of the statue would be on fire, and the statue would get red because of the fire inside the statue. One belief was that the arms of the statue would be stretched outward, with its palms opened and bent downward towards the ground where another fire would be burning at. The child would be put on the palms of the statue by the parent, and when that happened, the child would slip off the hands of Moloch and would fall head first into the fire that was on the floor. The priests would then play the drums they had so that the cries of the baby wouldn't be heard while the baby was burning to death. By sacrificing the firstborn babies, the people believed that Moloch would give them more children in the future and also financial prosperity for the family. Another belief was that the baby was killed first, I'm guessing by their parents, and then the child's body was thrown into the fire of Moloch. Either way, both practices seem very cruel to me. Throwing your own baby into a furnace to be burned alive, or killing your own firstborn and throwing the little baby's dead body into a furnace afterward. I prefer to raise the child with love and care, and if the child grows up to be a rebel or a criminal, then proceed with the ritual. Makes more sense like that, don't you agree?